If you're going to a situation, especially with first-time home buyers, or if you can't afford like newer construction, then you're going to need to kind of tone down your expectations a little bit.
We had a family member selling their house, and they had a Ring doorbell, and they had Ring cameras in their house. So they were hearing everything those buyers were saying.
I'm telling you right now, walking in with buyers into a house that stinks, it automatically puts a bad taste in their mouths. You don't want that impression.
If you had just one piece of advice for a buyer and for a seller, if you only got one thing out of this, what would be the thing that you'd want people to get? Hi, welcome to Strategic Wealth with Christina Strickland. Today I have Ryan Chambers and Josh Chapman here. We're going to talk a little bit about all things real estate, buying and selling houses, and things you need to be prepared for as a buyer or as a seller. So thank you both for being here.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that we hear about all the time on the financial side is interest rates, right? Because, we're talking about bonds and borrowing and power of your money.
Right.
How do interest rates impact the housing inventory? Like, as a buyer, maybe people are a little less excited about spending a lot of money on a house, or what are you seeing on the real estate side?
Well, I think there's a lot of people on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to go down. And I mean, the thing is, the bus keeps going around, right? And you need to jump on it. If you really want to buy a house, you really need to just jump on it at some point.
You need a place to live.
Because
you can't just wait forever.
Right. Because the thing is, interest rates change all the time, right? And you can refinance. There's ways to, I mean, this is a question for Ryan too, but like there's ways to like refinance later on, or, buy down the rate. There's things to do. But right now in Kansas City, it is causing stuff to sit on the market a little bit longer. And there's also more negotiations happening than there ever has been before. I mean, right now we are in, sellers still have a little bit of an edge, but the greater Kansas City area is more of a balanced market than compared to nationally right now. And so, I mean, right now the average days on market is about 55 days. Whereas what's wild is like, back 5 years ago in 21, I mean, it was way less than 30. I mean, it was crazy. So that has obviously been a huge change over the last 5 years. But again, back during 2020, during COVID and all that stuff, really, that was more of a non-normal market. Okay? I mean, to have what happened there is crazy time, right? And so, but now it's more balanced. It is causing stuff to sit on the market a little bit longer because, again, there's less people getting in the game.
Sure.
But at the same time, rates are they change all the time.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think a sweet spot though for rates would be great is like at 5.5%. Like if we could get stay in the fives, I mean, that's more of a normal interest rate range. So like, I think that would be perfect for the market. I think you'd have a lot of buyers come in back in the market that want to get out of their current situation. And also the thing is that people who bought back in 20 and, back then, they have those interest rates that are like in the threes. And so it's tough to leave a 3% interest rate to go to a 6.5% interest
I think
rate.
People will put up with houses that they don't love a lot longer. Because they're, and you know what's so funny to me is that we're having this conversation, and as you guys know, Bruce, my father, is the founder of our company, and we have this conversation a lot. And one of the things he talks about is that when he and my mother bought their first house in 1985, their interest rate was in the mid-teens, and they thought that they got a great deal. And it's just so interesting because then, like, my husband and I, we bought our first house in 2014, because you did the mortgage. We bought that first house in 2014, and I think our interest rate, I don't even remember what it was, but I know the one in 2018 was right at like 3.25 or something. It was pretty low, I think. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But it's so funny because the recency bias effect is, our recency experience is COVID.
Right.
And that was the exception, but people start to view that exception as the rule. So now we're like in this 5, 6, 7 range, and people are just losing their minds. But it's kind of like, well, that is the normal.
Right.
COVID was the weirdness, right? I guess one of the things I would question is, what are you seeing as far as buyers? Like, what price ranges? Where are kind of and I know we're just in Kansas City, right? But Kansas City's a pretty big metro area. What are you seeing is, like, I know you said the average of 55 days on the market, but what's the average price? I mean, how many are people still getting beat out for offers? What's that looking like?
Well, the thing is, right now the average sales price in Kansas City is $379,000, just right in that range. So that's all the metro. I mean, there's and obviously it's higher in places like Johnson County.
Sure.
Platte County's also got a pretty high average sales price right now, but you are seeing people. There's less multiple offer situations. There's still hot spots everywhere though. Like Parkville is a really hot spot right now. Overland Park is always a hot spot. Overland Park, Olathe, that area, Johnson County, up in the Northland, Liberty, there's still stuff moving. I mean, it depends on where you are in the metro, right? But you're instead of seeing 20 offers that we're seeing 5 years ago, I mean, you're seeing 1, 2, or 3 probably in the hot spots. Even it's still competitive, but it's not near as competitive as it was.
Sure.
And so. Really, it really depends on where you are in the metro, to be honest with you.
And I guess one of the things that's interesting to me, and I wanted to actually ask you both about this because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there was this conversation about the average house in the United States. In the whole country, the average age of a house is 40 years old. So then the conversation becomes, not only do I need enough money to buy the house, but I probably need enough money to fix up whatever. Maybe, listen, if it's been well maintained, and maybe structurally everything's great, there's still probably some cosmetic things that you might not like, right?
Well, and
what are you seeing from that?
Also, regard? If you need to do inspections on a house that old, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if it's 40 years old plus, you're probably gonna have sewer issues, stuff you can't see. Depends on. Chipping paint, things like there's going to be some things that you're going to need to try to figure out what you need to do. I recommend if you can afford to, not tying that into a loan and just paying for those out of pocket.
And so maybe that looks like less money down,
right?
Maybe,
and you keep some of it to use for repairs, sure.
Or you just spread it and just know, hey, I'll use myself as an example, right? We bought that old farmhouse on some acreage, which we love, but we very much have a priority list of like, hey, I cannot live. The first thing we did was replace the carpet upstairs because I was like, I'm not putting my kids up there playing on, my daughter sits on the ground and plays with dolls. And I was like, we're not sitting on this playing with dolls. So that was like the first thing on the priority list. There are other things that I'm like, well, I could live with an old shower for a little bit longer and deal with that later, right? So you could spread it out over time. But are you seeing, though, it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because on one end, it's like younger buyers or first-time home buyers or even just people that are very strongly opinionated, I guess. They want the new, flashy, nice-looking thing. Human nature, right? It's where you live. It's where you spend most of your time. You want it to be super great. But that kind of becomes a dynamic of, but maybe that's not what you can afford, right? So talk me through how you work with buyers on setting that realistic expectation of what can you afford, what does that look like, and what are some ways we can make that livable for you?
Right. Well, it really depends. Here's the thing. If you're going to a situation, especially with first-time home buyers, or they always have bigger, their eyes are bigger than their stomachs, right?
Sure.
A lot with what they can afford versus what's actually out there. And the thing is, you can have, if you can afford the newer, flashier stuff, then you should get it. Right. Sure. But if you can't, setting expectations is a big part of the real estate game, right? Of making sure that they understand that it's not all. I mean, you have to learn what you can live with. If you can't afford like newer construction,
right,
then you're going to need to kind of tone down your expectations a little bit, and that's really hard to get. I know it's really hard to get some people to realize that, but that's the reality, right?
Right.
And so, do you maybe look at houses with in the primary bathroom that maybe there's not tile everywhere, but it's still nice. Maybe there's nice wood countertops versus like quartz or granite. I mean, there's things that you can compromise on that aren't a big deal, but can save you a lot of money.
Sure.
Right. That still look nice, by the way. I mean, it's not like, I'm not saying you move into a house that you really have to do a ton of work to,
right?
But it may not be granite countertops and nice floors. It might just be, carpet everywhere and things like that. So it's really, so I guess setting expectations for people is a big part of being a real estate agent, because I want them to be happy. Right. And look, we can try to find something, but you also need to make sure from a standpoint that you really do want to buy a house.
Right.
And yes, it is. Listen, it is very stressful to buy a home. I'm not gonna lie to you. And trying to get people to understand that like there's a process here, and it's not easy to do because it's a big deal. It's a lot of money.
Right.
I mean, it's usually the biggest purchase that anyone's ever gonna make in their life.
Right. So kind of switching gears. Let's say I'm this seller.
Yeah.
And I have that house that's 40 years old, and I've done the whole like keeping up with maintenance, but it probably still has original windows, things like that. As a seller, if I want to, like, if it's if it's April 14th, happy tax day tomorrow, and I am sitting on this 40-year-old house that I want to sell. Yeah. Let's be honest. If I bought that house 40 years ago, I'm probably in the money pretty good anyway, right? But if I really wanted to sell quickly, and maybe I don't have a stomach for 55 days on the market, which I would be losing sleep every night if my house were on the market for that long. But that's just, I'm an anxious person. So do I, as a seller, spend the money to update it now to make it show really nicely? Or do I just say, you know what, I'm already in the money anyway because I bought this 40 years ago, just sell it? I mean, what do you recommend for your sellers?
It depends on their financial situation, right? Like if... I always recommend, especially if it's a 40-year-old home, it's probably paid off. You know,
right? It should, hopefully,
it should be, right? Unless you've just completely
maybe you refinanced,
multiple times. But I always recommend that if you can do it, yes, fix up. It doesn't even have to be fix up everything, but fix up the things like get new at least do carpet and paint.
Sure.
Spend $10,000 and recarpet and paint the house. That goes a long way with people.
Like right.
Also, the thing is too. Is from a buyer standpoint, walking into a home with brand new carpet and brand new paint, it covers a lot of other like blemishes that are on the house that,
That's fair.
So it also, people don't understand that from a seller standpoint, new carpet is huge in a house that old because you go nose blind to things in your own house and you don't smell things that other people smell. I'm telling you right now, walking in with buyers into a house that stinks, it automatically puts a bad taste in their mouths, and they're going to remember that, oh, that's the house that smelled bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It smelled like a dog.
It could be perfect for them.
Right.
But it could be, remember the house that smelled, and that's always going to be that you don't want that impression.
Right.
So yes, I recommend if you have a lot of equity in your house, then yes, please fix up a few things. Again, you don't have to change all the windows, for example,
right?
But at least do the basics. At least do carpet and paint. Make sure that maybe if there's blinds that are broken, just fix a few blinds. I mean, there's things that it goes a long way with people to make it look really nice.
I always thought it was an interesting dynamic of growing up in the South. The South homes are very colorful inside. So when my husband and I were selling a house in 23, that house was very, very, I think our bathroom was peach, and one of our daughter's bedrooms was like pretty dang close to hot pink. Yeah. And that was like the first thing our agent said was like, hey, look, these need to be neutral colors like yesterday. You got it. Like, we're not going on the market with these colors. But what I thought was interesting was I didn't want to like fix the carpet, for example, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't want to make that choice for the buyer, because I was like, well, wait a minute. What if they hate this? What's your answer to that?
I mean, it's there's no way to predict what the buyers are going to want. And here's the thing though. I do know for a fact that like walking through a house, if you see a hot pink wall, they're automatically thinking, oh my gosh, I got to paint that. Right. I mean, unless they have a daughter that loves hot pink. I mean,
maybe it's a selling point.
Exactly. It could be, it's literally, it's a case by case basis.
Yeah. I heard that Ryan really likes hot pink.
It's really the only houses that I will buy. Are pretty much hot pink.
But I recommend, like, if you, again, with carpet and paint, get like a regular, just a beige or even slightly light gray carpet and do, beige or light gray walls. Just go ahead and do it. Like, just, and make sure that you get a good painter to do it. Like, get the prime, make sure it looks good. So it covers the hot pink wall. Right. Because just the more decisions that you can kind of, the more neutral you can make it. They can decide to paint it pink if they want to, or blue or whatever color when they get in there.
Right.
But going to look at it, it does kind of help. It really does help.
Sure.
Just function it out though. Like thinking it through, like what's the minimum I can do, aka carpet and neutral paint?
Right.
Because everybody's going to walk in there and go, I want to do this and that.
Yeah.
And I've been a victim of always trying to make everybody happy and like, okay, well, I'll paint this and I'll do that and I'll change these lights. And like, I don't think you're going to get the money back to do all the things.
Kind of
so you might as well just find the sweet spot. Maybe it's just the carpet. Maybe it's just paint. Spend a certain threshold number because everybody who comes in there, for example, like cabinets, don't replace your cabinets. No. That's too much money.
Right.
Don't replace all the hardware on all your stuff trying to make everybody happy. Don't replace all your faucets. Whoever comes in is going to do all that.
You don't need to replace if it's an older home, you don't necessarily need to replace the cabinets or the countertops. Those are in decent shape.
Yep.
Again, flooring and paint is the biggest thing, and it's also not that expensive comparatively speaking. I mean, let's be honest here. Like spend $8,000 to $10,000, replace the carpet, replace the and paint the walls.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I heard the other day was, and I needed to coach myself on this, was the money that I would spend on fixing that up. If it takes less time on the market because I did that, because I'm a spreadsheet person, right? If it makes sense in Excel, it's golden. So one of the things I was thinking through is when we were putting our house on the market was, how much am I going to spend on these things? But would it maybe save, let's just say that house sells 30 days sooner. Well, that's one less mortgage that I'm going to have to pay. Right. So in my mind, mathematically, that kind of evened out anyway. Because I was like, well, it saved me that mortgage payment. I just spent that mortgage payment on this instead. And then hopefully you get the money back when you close.
Right. The most turnkey ready thing you can do is take care of those things that are not a big deal.
Right.
That makes a big
or
difference.
Even just like make sure your yard looks good.
Mankind and all homeowners out there, like nothing is worse than somebody who's clearly just Johnny homeowner doing something and it looks awful because you're like, this house is a victim of somebody who thought, like who watched way too much HGTV because that always just comes out.
I will say
hire a painter.
Yeah.
To do
Unless
the whole,
you're a really good
to do the entire interior, hire a paint company.
Right.
Like, don't do the whole thing yourself.
I think, again, just because I'm an anecdotal person, that the most recent house that my husband and I bought, again, we offered way below asking. Right. And I think it was that. It was like, oh, they redid their own flooring. They redid their own. I mean, we're talking about light switches that had paint all over them. And I'm like, you couldn't unscrew the light switch before you painted the wall? Like, simple things. And that wouldn't have even cost them anything, right? Like, you could have just unscrewed it. And it cost them a lot of money in the long run, I think.
Right. That's what I was about to say, too. Like, the thing is, if you do those things, right, it does potentially make it sit on the market for less time. Well, and when houses sit on the market for longer, people start thinking, oh, the seller's desperate. They'll take a low ball offer. They'll take whatever. And if you want to get the most value out of your house, then if you have the money, put a little bit into it.
Sure.
Seriously. Is there a magic number of like showings that you say, okay, after X number of showings and no offers, we have a problem?
Yeah. Usually it's about especially if you have people that come back multiple times, there's still no offers. That's even worse. Like that's like so then like, well, they're having to talk themselves into the house. That's
right.
That could be kind of a problem.
Yeah.
But typically if for showings or how much time on the market, like if there's 0 showings in like a week, it's probably price. If they have come to see it and there's still no offers and we've priced it well, then you start thinking, okay, what's the price? And we always ask for feedback too from buying agents, and I always give feedback to if I take a buying client to go see a house.
How brutally honest are you with your feedback?
I'm pretty honest. Like
the house.
Your house was a dump.
I mean, I do it. I mean, obviously, I'm professional about it. I don't say like. I mean, anyway, I won't repeat what some of my clients have said in a house, but I'll say things like especially. If the house smells like if they had cats, for example,
you might say,
it might smell bad.
Well, because here's the thing. I think 2 things to be true. I have always been someone who craves feedback because here's the thing: they may not know that.
Exactly.
Right?
Nose blind. It
happens all the time. It does.
I believe that people genuinely want to fix things. So if you don't give them that feedback, you're robbing them of the opportunity to make things right.
Right.
Which is why I crave feedback. Like, please tell me so that I can get better. Right. But here's the other thing I would just as like an aside. Have you had, maybe you two have experience with this. We had a family member selling their house and they had a Ring doorbell and they had Ring cameras in their house. So they were hearing everything those buyers were saying. And it was so funny because of the family, one of the members of the family who could hear this feedback was like, oh, those are valid comments that we need to think about. The other person that could hear this is just beside themselves. Like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I would just say, if you are selling your home and you have those cameras, maybe turn them off, or turn at least the volume down, or don't listen to that feedback. Because I think emotionally for those two people, it was, I'm not going to say, I mean, they handled it very well. They're very mature adults, but I think that caused a lot of stress for them.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
When I'm taking clients through a house and I see a Ring camera, I point it out immediately. And I'm like, listen, don't say anything negative about the house. We will talk about this.
Or positive either.
Well, right. yeah, exactly. Yeah. I always say stay neutral.
Right.
Stay neutral on everything.
Yeah.
We'll discuss this when we get outside or back to away from earshot of the camera.
Yes.
Because again, like you're saying, it can all come out in negotiations. And listen, you don't want, people are going to negotiate. It's fine. Like it happens, but like, you don't want them to you don't want people taking advantage of each other, right? It's really what it is. It's what's fair and balanced. What's a win-win for both sides, honestly.
Well, it's
That's
just
how I
like
try to
the thing
everything.
I tell my kids, you know, having 3 young kids, one of them's always like, well, so-and-so doesn't like me. And I'm like, well, their opinion of you is none of your business. Like,
right.
Your opinion of and again, unless it's a tangible thing of, oh, hey, you should probably fix this. In general, their opinion is none of your business. They might have looked at 70 houses. Who cares?
Right,
you know?
Right. It's probably easy to take it personally because this is my house. I raised my kids here. Or they did just go spend $10,000 on paint and carpet. And like, why do they not like it? Or whatever the case may be. But it's transactional at the end of the day. Can these people afford it? Yes or no? And like you said, making sure somebody's pre-qualified. I don't want looky-loos. Like, I don't need your opinion or your validation if you can't afford my house anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was mean.
Especially if you're living there, right?
Right.
Like a mom with young children,
right,
who has to get them out of the house every time there's a showing. That's a
lot of
pretty big deal. And so please make sure that you're bringing serious clients into the home that want to buy it, because otherwise it's a waste of time. Let's be honest. It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you also have to be like accommodating as a seller.
Correct.
Right? Because you never know when the buyer's going to show up.
You're right.
But you're absolutely right. If you've got 3 kids, they're all really little, and you've got to hightail it out, and your house is maybe chaotic anyway, it's probably going to make it difficult.
Right.
So stressful. I don't know how people do it. I mean, I think just because it's honestly, I equate selling a house almost to like being a celebrity. Like, you have to be on all the time. Your house always has to look good. Your kids always have to be ready. If you have pets, you have to have a way to get them out of the house, or at least like, well, I guess out of the house, because there's nowhere that they're not looking, right? You can't just shut them in your garage because they're probably looking in the garage. You have to be on the whole time, and it's so stressful. But I guess it's just kind of a wrap up. If you had, I don't know, just one piece of advice for a buyer and for a seller, what would be like your one, hey, if you only got one thing out of this, what would be the thing that you'd want people to get?
From a seller standpoint, clean your house, right? At least broom clean, at least contractor clean it, right? At least make sure that's picked up. And again, if you have small children, I know it's tough, right? But it says first impressions are everything for pretty much anybody, right? You go in with, if you have a good attitude about the home, you're gonna probably like it a little bit more than So make sure your house is clean, the grass is cut, things like that. Make sure it has good curb appeal. Make sure it looks good when you pull up. That's my recommendation. Again, if you can afford it, do carpet and paint. Like, little things go a long way. From a buyer standpoint, if you really want the house and you can afford to do it, offer to put enough down, offer close to asking. Really make your offer strong enough to especially if there's multiple offers, go in as best as you can, right? If you offer to pay closing costs, that's a huge deal. So there's ways to like really make your offer strong. It depends on how seriously you want to buy the house.
Love it. Well, thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it.